see. I think you should go first.
That's easy.
That's easy. Get it up. We're not reading offerings now. That's later. Yeah.
Yes. I just. Yeah, oh God, brother, he left already, or he's leaving at 9 to Abenteuer. They go to Abenteuer so early. Try to talk him out of it, but I try to talk him out of it. Only it takes 6.5 hours. But Umagan Timirandasya Genangsana Salakaya Chakshur and Militang Yenatasmai Sigurave Maha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So on this auspicious day of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, I have some notes, copied something from the Lilamrita. Maharaj asked me to talk first, so he was always my Shiksha Guru. When Maharaj became spiritual, he was always here on the altar, he made the whole setup. He was always here. And then he became spiritual master and he had to start to travel. And I had to take over because I had sometimes done Mangal Aarti at the weekend or even noon offering. And then I had to learn everything in 4 days from him. Almost no manual. Difficult. And always before Maharaj was the great example. So I do as he says. Yes, I copied something, the description of Srila Prabhupada's appearance from the Lilamrita. Sadhguru Maharaj writes, Janmashtami, of course, we celebrated Janmashtami wonderfully here. And in my opinion, Krishna shows how dear and near Srila Prabhupada is to him by making him appear just the day after Krishna's appearance. Srila Prabhupada is so close to Krishna. We can also see by this. So the day after Janmashtami, Srila Prabhupada. I just read this copy. The next day, on September the 1st, 1896, in a little house in the Toliganj suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born. Since he was born on Nandotsava, the day Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had observed a festival in honor of Krishna's birth, the boy's uncle called him Nandulal. But his father, Gurmohande, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. In accordance with Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery. And so it was that on the bank of the Adi Ganga, a few miles from his father's home, in a small two-room mud-walled house with a tiled roof. Underneath a jackfruit tree, Abhay Charan was born. A few days later, Abhay returned with his parents to their home at 151 Harrison Road. An astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. CCC Palat Lakshmi Singadev Ki Jai. Palat Singadev, the temple, our whole life, this great change in our lives have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada once said, our motto is Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. May everybody become happy. That was Srila Prabhupada's desire, and that was his life's mission. Sometimes he was very stern. It says the spiritual master can be as soft as a rose and as hard as lightning, as a thunderbolt. If somebody is still soft in his conviction, the spiritual master is very, very soft with him and caring. But when somebody is advanced and the spiritual master sees something in the habits or the mind of his disciple, and like a surgeon, he may use cutting words to take out this anatta or wrong idea in the mind of his disciple. So, guru means also heavy with knowledge, but also may be heavy. That is just for the good of everybody, so that everybody may become happy. Also, the disciple who had a wrong conception, maybe. There was a nice event. One devotee told this in the memories of Srila Prabhupada in this video. I read it in the book, actually, 5 books. He recounted when Srila Prabhupada had a talk with some learned person, and this devotee, he was present also in the room, and Srila Prabhupada, he was very regal, very official in his dealings with his many disciples. In the beginning, Prabhupada was just like a father, very caring, very soft. Like Maharaj told yesterday, after the first initiation, Srila Prabhupada said, and after they had been initiated, all the devotees, Prabhupada said, and there are some rules. And Prabhupada told them about the regulative principles. And, surprise. Afterwards, when there are so many disciples, Prabhupada became more like a general in charge, and he was more more regal with his disciples, and more stern with his disciples. And this devotee saw Srila Prabhupada talking with this person. Prabhupada was telling him something. This gentleman, he was answering, and everybody looked at Prabhupada when he was talking. Looked at the other person when he answered. And this devotee, when this other person was talking, he was watching Srila Prabhupada instead of looking at the other person. And then he saw that Srila Prabhupada had looking at him with a very loving, soft glance. When Prabhupada saw that he looked at him directly and that he saw Prabhupada looking at him in this way, immediately Srila Prabhupada, he looked stern, regal again. So this devotee realized, yes, Srila Prabhupada is so loving and caring for us, for us to help get our mind in shape. He may be, and he was, and is very strict. That is good for us. Prabhupada said, disciple comes from discipline. We need discipline in our spiritual life. Just follow these few things, these few rules that Prabhupada gave to us. Prabhupada says these are the rules for human life. They make the difference between animal life and human life. This is the Sattvic platform. Sorry, little something. I made some more notes from. There are predictions of the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. This astrologer made this prediction. He described what he saw in Prabhupada's horoscope, and everybody was made jubilant. Prabhupada said there are only very few good astrologers. Very few. And this was obviously a very good astrologer. Just after the birth, he could see that who Srila Prabhupada was and what he would be doing. Others, there are so many descriptions in the different scriptures. Bhagavatam, it says that this Bhagavatam is meant to create a revolution in the lives of the human race. So Srila Prabhupada, he carried the Bhagavatam and came to the West, to America, the most the most degenerated country. I remember when I was young, all the fashions, all the music and styles of appearance, it started in America, and then a few years later, it came 5 years later or something, it was in Germany too. Prabhupada went directly to the heart of this so-called civilization, and there he started his activities. One prediction was, in the Divya Prabandha Namalva, he speaks about a vision he had. I cannot, it's Bengali.
Tamil.
Tamil.
If it's Nama, it must be Tamil.
Yes. So I just read, somebody who knows Tamil will be laughing, maybe not out loud, but inwards. Poliga, poyitru valurir chapam, nalium naragamum nainda namut kingu yadon ram ilai. The great saints of South India, the Alvas. Kalium kedum kandu kolmin kadalvanan budangal manmel malia pugundisal pari ari ulidara kandam. Victory, victory, victory! I behold something wonderful. All the inauspiciousness of the living entities is destroyed. No one is going to hell. Yamaraj has no more any work, and the effects of Kali Yuga ceased to exist. This is because all over the world, an increasing number of Lord Vishnu's devotees sing his names while dancing and playing musical instruments. In the Bhagavad Mahatmya and the Uttarakanda of the Padma Purana, Bhakti personified tells Narada Muni that after traveling through several places in India, she reached Vrindavan. Then she declares her resolution of leaving from Vrindavan to go to the foreign countries. Idam stanam parityajya videsham gamyate maya. Leaving this place, I will go abroad. Bhakti personified. Once Prabhupada said, he was talking with devotees about the habits of the pujaris of the Jagannath temple in Jagannath Puri, and Prabhupada said, Jagannath has gone to the west. He also, Bhakti Devi, has gone to the west. By the end of the Brahma Vaivata Purana, Krishna Janmakanda, chapter 129, text 49-51, we find the narration of the departure of Lord Krishna from this world and how all the holy rivers headed by the personified Ganges approached him. Bhagirath Yuvacha, He Nata Ramana Sreshta Yasi Golokam Uttamam, Asmakam Ke Gatis Chatra Bhavishyati Kalau Yugi. Ganga Devi said, O Lord, best of lovers, now that you are going to the supreme abode, Goloka, what will be our situation here in this age of Kali? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kale Pangsha Sahasrani Varisani Tishta Bhutale, Papani Papino Yanti Tupyam Dasyanti Snanata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, sinful people will come to you and upon bathing will give you their sins. Ganga, you must remain like this on earth for 5,000 years of the age of Kali. Man mantropasakas parashat basmi bhutani tat kshanat bhavishyanti darsanas cha snanat eva hijanavi. O Ganga, then there will be many devotees worshipping me by my mantra, and merely by their touch, glance, and bathing, all those sins will be immediately burned. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya declares, Prithiviti Paryantaya, Prithivi Paryantayata Achidya, Prithivi Paryantayata Achidya Deshagam, Gram Sarvatrap Sanchare Hoibeka Moranam. In every town and village of the world, the chanting of my name will be heard. In the Chaitanya Mangala, Lord Chaitanya clearly mentions that he will send his leading preacher abroad. Ebi nama sankirtan tikshna katgelai, antara asura jiver feliba katia, yadi papi chadi dharma dura desiyaya, mora sinapati bhakta, yaibi tataya. Taking the sharp sword of the congregational chanting of the holy name, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go to far-off countries, then my commander-in-chief, Senapati Bhakta, will appear to chase them and distribute Krishna consciousness. Once Srila Prabhupada discussed with his god-brother Obiel Kapoor this verse, Priti Viti Achiyarata Nagaradigam Sarvatra Pracharya Hoiba Moranam. They were discussing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicts in every town and village all over the world, my holy name will be heard. And at that time, they could not imagine, devotees could not imagine how this would take place. And Obiel Kapoor, he asked Srila Prabhupada, what do you think about who will fulfill this prediction? And Srila Prabhupada, who had gotten this mission from his spiritual master at their first meeting, preached the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English. Srila Prabhupada answered, some fool will do it. So that was Srila Prabhupada's humble answer. And it's in our Srila Prabhupada in this interviews with persons who knew Srila Prabhupada before he came to the West. Many more nice things are in this. Sorry, about last thing I will quote. One devotee, godbrother of Prabhupada, he remembers Prabhupada he was not very, financially, he was not very well to do. Once this devotee, he was riding on a rickshaw outside of Vrindavan, I remember correctly, and there he saw Srila Prabhupada standing on the side of the road, and he said, "Oh, Prabhu, would you like to come with me?" Or maybe Prabhupada had sannyas already, taken sannyas already. And Prabhupada said, "No, I will not come with you. In this house, one gentleman is living, and he promised to give me 5 rupees when he will come back." And this devotee, he went on. When he came back after quite some time, he saw Srila Prabhupada still standing there. And Abhay Prabhu, no. And he said, "You are still here. What happened?" Prabhupada said, "Oh, this gentleman has not come back yet in the evening." And he said, "Come on the rickshaw. I will give you 5 rupees." Prabhupada's waiting the whole day for 5 rupees. But Srila Prabhupada had this firm faith in the instruction of his spiritual master and in the presence of Krishna. So he tried to fulfill the order of his spiritual master.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
I made my notes.
Yes. Yes, of course. One has to prepare. Devotees spend their time coming.
Let's see. Maybe we should first consider our schedule. I don't know what it says on the official schedule, but I suppose until 9.
At 11 is
Yeah.
Abhishek.
Yeah, but
9, simple breakfast for non-fasters.
oh,
Otherwise, till 11.
well, okay, don't worry. I'm not going to go until 11 o'clock. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You referred to Srila Prabhupada's birth and birthplace from the biography, and it reminded me of visiting the place where Srila Prabhupada was born. This property has been purchased by ISKCON along with some more properties around, because the house really was very small, and they've been able to purchase, I don't know how much of the property around, to make a very nice memorial place where devotees can come as a pilgrimage. Many years ago, I was in Calcutta, and I was somehow inspired to visit places that I had read about in Prabhupada's biography. I was on my own. I just found my way around to, what was it, number 151 Harrison Road, which is now called MG Road, Mahatma Gandhi Road. I went to the Radha Govinda Mandir, which is more or less across the street, and the worship of Radha Govinda is still going on. A little detail I was very struck by, that both Radha and Krishna are in Tribhanga pose. Radharani is standing like Krishna, not holding a flute, but she's in a Tribhanga pose. This is where Srila Prabhupada would go. His mother would take him in a stroller. And he remembers that he would just, for a long time, gaze at the deities. He was, from early childhood, very attracted to the deities of Krishna. And I went to his school as a child. What was it? Something Seal School. And I went to Scottish Churches College, where he went to college. And I remember I walked into the college. It was kind of strange. Seemed like there was no one there, but it was kind of open. Like, I don't know. I just walked in, wandered around. It's called Scottish Churches College because it was established by Scottish Christian missionaries. So it's interesting. Prabhupada was educated by professors who were, they were on a mission. And of course their mission was, they wanted to imbibe Christianity in their students. But Prabhupada, he respected his teachers. That was, he mentions. He appreciated them, but he became himself a missionary in a different direction from what they might have wanted. Some years ago I collected, these are some references of what did Srila Prabhupada say about himself. Prabhupada spoke a fair amount about himself. He was quite openly sharing with his disciples about his early life and also about his, of course, meeting his spiritual master, about his householder life, about giving up his householder life, his going to Vrindavan, all the struggles he went through, and so on. At the very end of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada writes, and this is with respect to meeting Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. In which year was that? When did they first meet? Which year? 1922. Yes, 1922. Prabhupada says, I was a newly married young man, addicted to Gandhi's movement. Addicted to Gandhi's movement and dressed in khadi. What is that khadi? Khadi is handloom-made cotton cloth, and it was a political statement at the time to wear this cloth rather than cloth that had been manufactured in England. Fortunately, even at our first meeting, His Divine Grace advised me to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English in the Western countries. Because at that time I was a complete nationalist, a follower of Mahatma Gandhi's, I submitted to His Divine Grace that unless our country were freed from foreign subjugation, no one would hear the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seriously. Of course, we had some argument on this subject. But at last I was defeated and convinced that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message is the only panacea for suffering humanity. You know this word panacea? It's a medicine that cures everything. That's a panacea. I was also convinced that the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was then in the hands of a very expert devotee. And that surely the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spread all over the world. I could not, however, immediately take up his instructions to preach. Huh? Oh. Let's see. But I took his words very seriously and was always thinking of how to execute his order, although I was quite unfit to do so. I've always appreciated when Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj wrote his the biography of Srila Prabhupada. Initially, it was printed in 6 separate volumes, and each volume had its own title. And the title of the first volume was A Lifetime in Preparation. And I always appreciated that, yes, because in that volume he's describing Srila Prabhupada's life from his birth until he leaves for the West. So a lifetime in preparation. And I think this is a point that can be an inspiration for us if we take it in the right way. And that is, we may, in our present circumstance, whatever that might be, especially for householders who have responsibilities to the family. Srila Prabhupada says here that he took the words of his spiritual master very seriously and underlining, I was always thinking of how to execute his order, although I was quite unfit to do so. So he was meditating, how can his Guru Maharaj had said, spread this movement in the English language. How am I going to do that? And you quoted Prabhupada, some fool is going to do it. So he was feeling like that. So the disciple may feel, I can't at the present time fulfill the order of my spiritual master. But it's not that because I cannot do it now, therefore I will forget about it. Rather, let me hold tight to that order and meditate and plan, how am I going to do in the future? In this way, I passed my life as a householder until 1950, when I retired from family life as a vanaprastha. With no companion, I loitered here and there until 1958. You know this word, loiter? Loiter means to sort of aimlessly wander about, but it usually refers to like homeless people. You know, they're just kind of living on the street. They have no aim in life. What are they doing? They are loitering in the street. So Prabhupada refers to himself with that. I loitered here and there until 1958, when I took sannyas. Then I was completely ready to discharge the order of my spiritual master. That's interesting. So 1922, he initially got this order. It was on that first day, Prabhupada tells us. He said, you should preach this movement in English. And as we know, again in 1936, just before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur departed, he reconfirmed that message in a letter. So now it's 1958, so from 22, that's how many years? 36 years. Yes, and Prabhupada says, previously in 1936, just before His Divine Grace passed away at Jagannath Puri, I wrote him a letter asking what I can do to serve him. In reply, he wrote me a letter dated 13 December 1936, ordering me in the same way to preach in English the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as I had heard it from him. Many times Prabhupada would use this word cult. And in America, the word cult has a very negative connotation. In German, they use the word Sekte. Oh, Hare Krishna, ja, das ist eine Sekte. And in America, they use the word cult. But Prabhupada is using the word cult, but not in a negative sense, but as a culture, you can say. After he, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, passed away, I started the fortnightly magazine Back to Godhead sometime in 1944. Fortnightly means once every 2 weeks. It's a slightly old-fashioned English word. After I took sannyas, a well-wishing friend suggested that I write books instead of magazines. So apparently he had not even thought to write books. Write books? A well-wishing friend told him. Magazines, he said, might be thrown away, but books remain perpetually. Then I attempted to write Srimad Bhagavatam. He says humbly, I attempted to write. Before that, when I was a householder, I had written on Srimad Bhagavad Gita and had completed about 1,100 pages. But somehow or other, the manuscript was stolen. In any case, when I had published Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, in 3 volumes in India, I thought of going to the USA. By the mercy of His divine grace, I was able to come to New York on September 17th, 1965. Today we have 2024, so 59 years ago. You're quick. Since then, I have translated many books, including the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a summary, and many others. Srila Prabhupada, I like to say sometimes, Srila Prabhupada would boast about himself. You know the word boast? To boast is to speak very proudly about oneself. Prabhupada was always teaching Vaishnava culture, which is to be humble. And we usually think humble means being like a mouse, sort of. But we know Srila Prabhupada was very bold, and we know that he was very outspoken, and especially in India, he would boast to his fellow Indians about his accomplishment. Sometimes he would boast about how much money the devotees make. He would say, worldwide we have so many centers and so many devotees are distributing my books. And we are making 1 lakh rupees a day. 1 lakh is 100,000. He would boast about his disciples also. These boys and girls, these European and American boys and girls, they came from Sometimes he would say they came from, high-class family, but they have given everything up. I am not paying them, he would say. Let's see. In one letter to his god nephew, Narayan Maharaj, he wrote, I had to leave my own family and children because I was unable to tolerate seeing them remain servants of their senses. All the American children who are staying with me have shaved their heads, have mala and tilak, and always follow my orders. As soon as they see me, they do dandavat pranams. More about his family. In a room conversation, this was in 1976, in New Mayapur in France. Harishori Prabhu says, seems everything is devolving at a phenomenal rate. Means everything is getting so quickly degraded. Every decade that passes, everything breaks down twice as fast. Just in the last 20 years or 30 years, everything has become so much degraded. Prabhupada says, no, I have got experience. I am Calcutta born. What Calcutta was in our childhood days and what is now, I know everything. How we were happy during British days and what is now position, I can speak from my personal experience. We do not belong to the richest class, nor to the poor class, middle class. So we have got practical experience. My father's income was not more than 250 rupees. He doesn't say per week or per month or what, but of course the value of a rupee in those days was much more than that. 250 rupees now is about 2.5 euros. How opulent we were. At least there was no question of need. We were receiving daily 4, 5 guests. And my father was functioning so many festivals. And he was asking. My father gave in marriage 4 daughters. There was no difficulty. The income was not more than 250 rupees. Of course, that 250 rupees at least 10 times now means the value. But still, there was no needy, there was no needfulness. Not very opulent, but there was no need, there was no lack. The first necessity is to feed and to clothe, so there was no such scarcity. May not be very luxurious life, but there was no scarcity for food and shelter or cloth. There was no scarcity. You know the word scarcity, lack. Happy, that is wanted. Happiness in whatever circumstance. Not that because we did not possess a motor car, therefore unhappy. I purchased one motor car in 1925, Buick car. Not for personal use, but for using it as a taxi. My one nephew, he was a good driver. So my father, quote, "Why don't you give him? He can do that. We can use it our own car, also taxi." So I took it, Buick car. I think I paid 8,000 rupees, which is about 100 euros. Today. Hari Shori says, Buick? And Prabhupada says, Buick, yes. Buick was an American brand of car, like Citroën or something. Very strong car. At that time, Ford, Chevrolet, and Buick, these cars were very popular in India. Ford for the poorer class, and Buick for the first class. I must say I wonder a little about this because when I first went to India, you didn't see any Ford or Buick or Chevrolet or anything. You only saw Ambassador. There was one brand of car, the Ambassador. And you still see in Kolkata Ambassadors. It's the design of the car that you see on the streets. That design comes from 1953. But it's built like a tank. And that's why they still use them. You know, in India, the philosophy is use it until it pulverizes. Should I go on? Yes. Little. In a letter to Bhagavan Das in 1970, quote, this is about his mission. Prabhupada says, yes, we are fighting impersonalism and voidism with pure devotional service. Impersonalism and voidism kills the natural attitude of devotion, which is lying dormant in everyone's heart. Therefore, we are printing books like our Krishna book, so that people may know it, that the supreme absolute truth is a person. The perfection of every living creature is to render transcendental loving service to that supreme person, and thereby go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita that, quote, whoever explains my transcendental glories to others is most dear to me in this world, and never will there be one more dear to me than he. Srila Prabhupada, because he's preaching Bhagavad Gita, he he feels himself to be recognized by Krishna. Srila Prabhupada emphasized Bhagavad Gita in his preaching. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur emphasized Chaitanya Charitamrita. But of course, in the West, to start with Chaitanya Charitamrita would be quite a challenge. This is a conversation with Bhagavan. I don't have the date here. Bhagavan says, the boy didn't realize, this is about fighting this Mayak civilization. The boy didn't realize the potency of your answer last night. He was asking how to fight fascism. And you were saying, by chanting and dancing. So factually, by setting the example is the greatest way to fight all these maladies, all these troubles. And Prabhupada says, Maya, Maya, yes, we are fighting with this Mayic civilization. And Bhagavan says, because they can fight with guns, but afterwards, neither one of them knows how to set an example, exemplary life. So they just keep fighting with guns. And Prabhupada says, with gun or without gun, you will die. The fascist will die, and the other party also will die. Gun or without gun, he cannot exist. But our fight is to stop death. Tyaktva deham punar janmanaiti mameti. Our fight is for this purpose. No more death. This is real fight. What is your fight? You may save yourself for 2 years or 3 years or 10 years, but you have to die. You have no such program not to die. But here is a program. No more death. And finally, I have noted here, Srila Prabhupada to Satsarukdas Goswami. He says, so you lectured there? That's nice. This was 1969. Now you have to lecture. I will have to retire. And he chuckles. I want that all my students now should be prepared. Which reminds me of a time in Vrindavan, I think this was told by Gurudas Prabhu. In Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada would have his disciples give lecture in the evening, and Srila Prabhupada would sit and listen. And the devotees would really endeavor to prepare themselves because Prabhupada is going to be there listening. So they would memorize shlokas, Bhagavad Gita, and give lectures. And one time it was Gurudas's turn. And Gurudas was not one to memorize verses at all. But he did his best. He gave a lecture. And afterwards, Srila Prabhupada said, very nice. Now I can retire. And his servant, how was it exactly? I don't remember, but he said it 3 times. One time, in the same conversation, he said, because he has spoken, essentially he was thinking, because he is speaking nicely, preaching, the other devotees are preaching nicely, therefore now I can retire. And yes, and his Srila Prabhupada's sister was present. What did you call her? Pishima, yeah. So Pishima was there. Pishima could not understand English at all. But Pishima had said to Prabhupada, oh, this was a very nice lecture. And Prabhupada's servant had, and Prabhupada said, and Pishima also said that this was very nice. And Prabhupada's servant, I think it was his servant, said, but Prabhupada, Pishima doesn't understand English. And Prabhupada said, no, she said it's good lecture, it's good lecture. So Prabhupada was always encouraging devotees, encouraging us. Practically from day one, he expected everyone to flourish. You know the word flourish? Spiritual flourish. And in one lecture in Mayapur, he was speaking about his desire that his disciples become gurus. And he sort of goes on a riff. He says first, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but it was like multiples of 10. He said there can be 100 gurus, and then there can be 1,000, and then there can be 10,000. And then I think he said finally 100,000. Or did he go to 1 million? At least 100,000. Let there be 100,000 gurus to spread, because he told, he said to Burijan Prabhu, you remember Burijan told us in Govardhan that Prabhupada sort of confided in him and his wife that he wanted Krishna consciousness. He wanted to spread Krishna consciousness all over the universe. Wasn't it? So he was thinking big. At present in ISKCON we have altogether officially recognized Diksha Gurus, more or less 100. And it's how many years since Prabhupada left?
When he arrived in the U.S., you mean, Marsh?
When he departed. 47. Okay, so it's been 47 years. So I wondered, and I'm not the only one wondering, how this can all be accelerated. Yeah. There are many devotees who certainly are qualified to give shelter to disciples, and yeah, I hope that this will happen. It's, but I think the point for today is for all of us to recognize whatever empowerment we might pursue. How are we getting it? How is it that we are all here right now? I really don't like to think of where I would be if it weren't for Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, so so here we are, and we're celebrating. Maybe what we can do just for a few minutes is ask if any of you would like to share something about Srila Prabhupada that inspires you. Do we have another microphone? We can. In 2019, I was in Gainesville, Florida, and our godbrother Kalakanta Prabhu invited me to participate in the Vyasa Puja, Srila Prabhupada Vyasa Puja at Krishna House. Krishna House is a kind of Hare Krishna student center that's very close to the University of Florida. It's two streets away, very close. And they have it's Krishna House that produces Krishna lunch on University of Florida campus since 40 years now, I think, distributing, I don't know the average, but on certain days, certainly 1,000 plates of prasadam to students. And they have students who stay with the devotees. It's a very amazing, dynamic program, wonderful. Wonderful program. So he invited me to come, and he had all of the devotees, all of the students speak on Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. All of these very young, some hardly knew anything, but he had everyone speak, and everyone spoke so nicely. I was so moved, and I felt so satisfied that even when a devotee said, okay, if you like, you can come with us now to the Alachua program of Vyasa Puja, Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Alachua is the ISKCON community outside a village in the country, 20 minutes drive away, or more. I said, actually, thank you, but I just feel too satisfied with what I just experienced. I want to kind of stay with that feeling. Anyway, I'm saying, if any of you have a thought you would like to share, please voice it. Find your voice. Where's the microphone? Yes. Mansuka, yes. Is it?
Hare Krishna. For me, Srila Prabhupada is something like the embodiment of that what Akila Prabhu said, that he is the embodiment of a spiritual master who can be very peaceful and very polite. I remember when I heard about when it starts in New York, that the temple starts there. He always washed the plates and he always made it his own. and not looked for any help. And in the other way, he's a very, for me, it's a very strong warrior and embodiment of a very powerful spiritual warrior. And yeah, very heavy preaching sometimes. And yeah, also using this harsh words like rascal in some way in a service to Krishna. And yeah, this is one sort for me.
Thank you. They're all fools and rascals. Usually he would say fools and rascals in one phrase. And at least one time he said fool and rascal, and then he said fool means rascal. Because you might think, okay, fool means also means ignorant and therefore innocent, right? Fool, okay, he's a fool, he doesn't know, he's just a fool. But Prabhupada said, no, fool means rascal, and rascal is a kind of a quaint word for, what would be, I don't know even another word for rascal. What's another word for rascal? Yeah, it can be a mixture of someone who's mischievous, someone who is subversive, someone who is maybe even dangerous. A rogue. Rogue is another word. You know this word rogue? No. Schurk in German. Schurk. Yes. That's a heavy word. Anyway. Someone else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. In the last, I don't know, maybe couple of decades, ISKCON was propounding, where they're teaching courses, propounding the concept in a very clear, systematic fashion about who is Srila Prabhupada for within ISKCON, for the devotees, and not just for Srila Prabhupada's Diksha disciples. And so one of the things we learned from that, or that was taught here, was that Srila Prabhupada is the guru for all the devotees within ISKCON. And that's very meaningful to me. I think it's, in my experience, one of Srila Prabhupada's teachings it makes possible that realization that Srila Prabhupada is our guru, which is, Srila Prabhupada said that Vani, meaning his words, his teachings, are more important than his vapu, his physical association. And Srila Prabhupada could not have emphasized more the significance, the importance of studying his books. And then, so then taking this to me personally, some personal experience of how this was this realization was demonstrated in my life. I'm thinking back to 1989 as a 17 or 18-year-old with my best friend who brought me over to what they called a Ritvik center, my first center to visit. And I was
in Long Island.
Actually, Maharaj, this was the Prabhupada Sankirtan Center, led by Kapindra Swami, who gave himself sannyas, and this was in Harlem.
Oh, okay.
Yes. and I think I went to that center once or twice. And when I was there, because of my material consciousness and youth, we actually took quite light of the program there, the 3 devotees there, and the video that we saw of Prabhupada. For us it was all kind of funny, but not really. And so I was asked if I wanted to purchase Prabhupada's Science of Self-Realization, and I did. So even though I was a little making fun of things, which is, this is because of my demoniac nature, I suppose, but
Your rascal nature.
yes, my rascal nature, exactly, precisely. But I read his Science of Self-Realization during my senior year of high school, and whatever I read, for me it was so obviously, naturally, everything that Srila Prabhupada wrote was, of course, the only way that makes sense to understand reality. And it was just seemed so natural to me. So for me, Prabhupada became so close, I felt so close to Prabhupada. And then later, in two years later, a year and a half later, 2 years later, I moved into the temple in Boston, and then I joined the Sankirtan army, so to speak. And we would take, sometimes when Sankirtan became hard, we would take breaks. I would take a break and read something read some of Prabhupada's books to give me some strength to carry on. It was very hard, especially for me in those early days. And because we were told that, and we know Prabhupada wrote it, he said even one word, in this book is like so purifying. You read anything, and if you just flip open the book anywhere, then Srila Prabhupada will tell you just what you need to hear. And so I had that experience so many times, because I needed Srila Prabhupada's help so many times. And I would open the book, and just randomly, and Prabhupada would say exactly what I needed to hear, and I was floored, I was amazed by what I would read, because it was just what I needed to hear. It spoke right to my heart. It addressed the problems deep inside. And so this sort of experience established the firm conviction that Srila Prabhupada really does have a direct relationship with us, because this is magical. This is not possible by any material mechanism or phenomenon that we know of within this material world. That Srila Prabhupada, just by reading his book, by his directing us to open the page that we need to hear, he would say exactly what we need to hear deep in our heart to carry on, to fulfill his mission, which is inconceivable, the purpose of his mission, except for his devotee. And therefore that was my experience that evidenced the truth that Srila Prabhupada is in fact our Guru. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for highlighting this important point. Srila Prabhupada is Shiksha Guru for all of us. And Shiksha, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur emphasized that our concern is not so much with Diksha Guru Parampara, but with Shiksha Parampara, the line of teaching. So you're all in the club. That's a crude way of putting it. Well, the point of it is we can also be inclusive of everyone else, whoever is ready to join the club. I always say that when we take up Krishna consciousness, we're accepting a debt to the spiritual master which we can never repay. Usually when you borrow money or something, you have a program of how you're going to pay it back. But we take on a debt which we can never repay. That's kind of a crazy thing to do. But the way we repay is by getting others in debt. So it's a kind of a pyramid scheme to get the whole world in debt. Don't get me started on that subject, but yes, good. Yes.
Thank you. Is it? If I will be honest, and I will be, when first I read the Bhagavad Gita and the comments of the Bhagavad Gita written by Srila Prabhupada, I remember that there were several times when I felt that Srila Prabhupada always talk about Mayavadis and Raskas, and so many times were there in the comments that at one point I felt that I would like to throw away the whole book, because so intensive feelings came up within me. Fortunately, I did not and continue. And actually, this was the most helpful in my spiritual life, to be able to distinguish and to make clear borders, and to be simple, that there are black and white sometimes in cases, because I tended to feel everything wrong and everything is good. So for me especially, that very simple ability to distinguish between what is good for us and what is not, that was the most inspiring.
Nice, thank you. Maybe just one more. Yes, Rajana.
Thank you. Because what you just mentioned, the word Mayavadis, and I have similar thought, and I just kind of want to share. I have to be honest as well. I didn't get the nectar of the love of Srila Prabhupada even after a decade. But the reason is because in Asian cultures, when I first joined ISKCON, usually when devotees present the teachings of Prabhupada, they usually the patterns like this. Prabhupada is very merciful, but comes to Mayavadis and he will be very harsh and things. They usually but after the merciful in terms of example. So because Hong Kong, China, they're usually influenced by Buddhism and other religion. So when this topic comes out, I usually get a bit scared as well. Because Mataji sometimes mentioned one of the devotees, like she knows I was from Buddhist background, said you should throw away all the books. That's what Prabhupada would do. So at the beginning, I was very scared. So every year when they asked me to share the feelings of Prabhupada, I would say he's like my grandfather, because that's the only distinct respect I can cultivate on Prabhupada. I think I finally realized his merciful is very indirect. When I was studying in England, I have some Indian students who were from the Hindu background. And so when I mentioned I was a practicing devotee of Krishna, and then they keep asking me, oh, so you're a Hindu, you want to become a Hindu. I didn't realize the difference by then, and I kept saying, yeah, probably, I'm worshipping Krishna, so I'm a Hindu maybe. But then, all of them, they keep saying, no, you can't be a Hindu, because you're a foreigner. You can only become a Hindu in this life. You cannot become a Hindu to worship Krishna in this life. And then I realized, wow, Prabhupada is really merciful. So he creates a place where even Chinese, different nationality of people, not Hindu, can become a devotee of Krishna.
Yes.
So yeah, indirectly I finally feel how mercy of Prabhupada.
Thank you. Very nice. Yes. That's interesting. You met these Hindus in England. Oh, you want to be a Hindu? Next life. Yeah. Then you could say, oh, thank you very much. Actually, I don't want to be a Hindu. I want to be a Vaishnava. What? Okay, one more Dira Lalita, and then I think all of us want to chant Japa.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to say something. I'd like to say something about a mood of Srila Prabhupada. That one may think, how can you know a mood of Srila Prabhupada if you never met him? As Akila Prabhu said in the beginning, that Srila Prabhupada would be very kind to those who were just in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, and he would be very firm with those who are already taken the process in and train them. And in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, when I didn't even speak English, our first disciple meeting in Belgrade with Guru Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, was first thing that you said to me was to listen to Srila Prabhupada's classes. Because all of his classes were on tapes translated in English, obviously I was listening to them actually, but I didn't understand anything. So how life in Krishna consciousness was going on, sometimes I would be alone, and I would just put Srila Prabhupada's class because his voice was soothing. But about the mood of Srila Prabhupada was that when I learned English a little bit so I can understand it, I could, now I listen to Srila Prabhupada's classes regularly, if not every day, every other day, following on your instruction very much. And that Srila Prabhupada speaks differently when he gives classes in India, speaks differently in Japan, when he was just only with few devotees. It was like, sometimes I can feel the intimacy of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples when he speaks to them and he's teaching them, especially in Nectar of Devotion, and also in Vrindavan, when he was with less devotees. But if he would preach in a pandal with like hundreds of people, he would be so firm and fierce, and I get to know that also the spiritual master sometimes is like that. When the preaching programs are big, the spiritual master, when he's conveying the message, it's in a different way than when spiritual master is with his long-time disciples, and that mood is just really touches my heart, and it's like learning to appreciate more and thrive to be closer to a spiritual master and to Srila Prabhupada in order to have his sort of personal association through his mood.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures. Now we have so much facility. You mentioned tapes. We used to have things on, these little cassette tapes and a little machine. So now we are more advanced civilization, and you can get everything online. A little plug for prabhupadvani.com. They've really done a very good job of making everything available. prabhupadvani.com, right? Very lectures, conversations, morning walks, festivals, what else? Different categories, and you can select according to year, according to book, according to verse. Like if you want to hear everything Srila Prabhupada said about Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 verse 1, because he lectured a few times on that verse, you can click here and there and you'll get all of those lectures together, for example. Or you want to hear what Prabhupada had to say when he visited Germany. So you can select country, Germany, and hear those lectures. So I highly recommend listening to lectures of Srila Prabhupada. It's empowering. With that note, Srila Prabhupada empowered us all to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Japa Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I believe at 11 o'clock we will begin with an Abhishek of Srila Prabhupada Murti. Is that right? Does that mean the large Murti? Okay, good. And then we will have offerings, and in this way the program will go. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Could you sleep well?
Yes, we went to sleep maybe 2:30 or something. And now we have to check. And the last day,
Check out.
check out, yeah. Check in.
Yes. And you arrive. Okay now?
And after
Sometimes in the morning. And I hope I will be able to tap the tent. Because it's out, it was easy, but how can I put back? Fast as possible. Yes. Few circumstances maybe I have to pray.
otherwise you have to stand tent at home and
Yes.
try.
I think that will be.
And do
No, a house. Small house. Tiny house.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's a big, big. Yeah. What? No, not really. Yes, in the house it's only 38 square meters.
38.
Yes.
And it's like up or
No, it's a bit a gallery building, and it's high actually because there is the roof is like this, and so there is a big space upstairs then. So, but it's a small house next to the forest and with a big yard. So it's nice. Yes. Last year was better. So this year I was.
you don't have time.
No, I was always like here. So I realized that I had to ask my friend to and my family to water the plants, at least to live. And those not the vegetables, just the flowers. So they are not in good condition now.
Are many planning what you don't want.
Yes, weed, okay. We already discussed it. Your daughter. So you live in a house, also a house, and you grow vegetables. No. Yes, and there's a lot of energy for the tree to stabilize yourself.
And also otherwise we have greenhouse tomatoes without
The greenhouse against the wind as well.
time, when summer comes, we have time more.
Yes, this is the situation actually. I mean, in spring, everything was really nice and just flourished, and it seemed that this would be very good. And summer came, heat and so on, and I was not there, and everything boom. Just even the newly planted trees, they are in really bad conditions, I would say. I'm sorry for that, but I can. That's the life. They have to survive or learn.
Last week I harvested one sweet melon.
Whoa!
This big, it's like this shape. It's
It's
still
not good.
I don't know because we forgot them. He's in the fridge.
That's good
We
for
have
it.
to offer them.
Sweet melon was not a success. I tried to make
Yeah, it's
plants.
my husband's mind. How to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was trying to.
10 years.
No, it's like, oh, it's
Small watermelon. so many work.
when someone says to you, oh, you must
This year, last year, even the seeds didn't came out. This year they did,
someone says,
and finally there's a good plant. But they were the victims of the slugs and snakes. So
well,
maybe sometimes.
read Shakespeare.